You've heard the name. Ayn Rand. Maybe you've seen her books Atlas Shrugged, The Fountainhead on shelves or in memes. Maybe someone told you she was that selfish philosopher or the one who hates poor people. And if that's all you know, you've been lied to. Because Objectivism, Ayn Rand's philosophy, isn't about being cruel. It's not about stepping on others to get ahead. It's not some justification for greed or heartlessness. It's actually the opposite. It's a philosophy about reason, purpose, and earning what you achieve. It's about living with integrity, setting boundaries, and refusing to sacrifice your life for guilt or manipulation. In this video, I'm going to break down Objectivism in one clear explanation. No jargon, no academic nonsense. Just the core ideas Ayn Rand actually taught and how they apply to your relationships, your family, your career, and your self-respect. By the end, you'll understand why millions of people have built their lives around these principles, and why the people who attack it usually haven't read a single page. Let's clear the fog. This is Objectivism. Here's the problem. Most people who criticize Objectivism have never actually read Ayn Rand. They've read hit pieces. They've heard sound bites. They've absorbed caricatures from professors, journalists, or social media posts that deliberately twist her ideas. So what do they think Objectivism is? They think it's do whatever you want. Step on people. Be cold. Don't help anyone. Money is all that matters. That's not Objectivism. That's a straw man. And it's dangerous because when you misunderstand this philosophy, you lose access to one of the most powerful frameworks for living a rational, self-respecting life. Let me show you what actually happens when people don't understand Objectivism. You end up like Sarah. She's 34, works in marketing, and she's exhausted. Why? Because she believes that being a good person means saying yes to everyone. Her mother guilts her into weekly visits, even though it drains her. Her coworker dumps extra projects on her because you're so helpful. Her boyfriend expects her to cancel her plans whenever he's bored. Sarah thinks selfishness is evil, so she sacrifices and sacrifices and sacrifices until she's burnt out, resentful, and wondering why no one respects her. That's what happens when you reject rational self-interest. Or take John. He's talented, ambitious, runs a small business, but he feels guilty about his success. His family keeps asking for money. His friends make passive-aggressive comments about people who care more about profit than people. So John downplays his achievements, gives away his time, and feels like he has to apologize for earning what he built. That's what happens when you're taught that achievement is somehow morally suspect. Here's the truth. Objectivism isn't about being heartless. It's about refusing to let guilt run your life. It's about understanding that you have a right to your own happiness and that living for others' approval is a path to misery. So let's define what Ayn Rand actually said. Alright, so what is Objectivism? Ayn Rand built her philosophy on 4 core pillars, and I'm going to break them down in plain English. Pillar 1. Reality exists and facts are facts. This sounds obvious, but it's not. Objectivism says that reality is objective. It exists independent of your feelings, your wishes, or your opinions. There's a world out there, and you can understand it through reason and evidence. You can't change reality by wanting it to be different. You can't make a bad relationship good by manifesting it. You can't make a failing business succeed by ignoring the numbers. You can't rewrite biology or economics because it makes you uncomfortable. Facts don't care about your feelings. And pretending otherwise leads to disaster. That's Pillar 1, objective reality. Pillar 2, reason is your only tool for understanding reality, not faith, not intuition, not what your parents told you or what feels right. Reason, the process of thinking logically, gathering evidence, and coming to rational conclusions. Ayn Rand said that man's mind is his basic tool of survival. Animals have claws, speed, instinct. Humans have the ability to think, to observe, identify patterns, solve problems, create. And here's the key. Reason isn't about being emotionless. It's about making sure your emotions are based on reality. If you're angry, ask, is this anger justified by the facts, or am I reacting to a false belief? If you love someone, ask, does this person actually treat me well, or am I in love with who I wish they were? Reason keeps you grounded. It protects you from manipulation, self-deception, and bad decisions. That's Pillar 2, reason as your guide. Pillar 3, rational self-interest is moral. Here's where people lose their minds. But listen carefully. Ayn Rand said that your life is the standard of value. Your goal should be your own happiness, not in some shallow, hedonistic way, but in a deep, purposeful way. You should pursue what benefits your life rationally, what helps you thrive, grow, achieve, and live with integrity. This does not mean do whatever you feel like. It means identify what actually serves your long-term well-being and pursue it without guilt. It means if a relationship drains you, you're allowed to leave. If a job exploits you, you're allowed to quit. If a family member manipulates you with guilt, you're allowed to set boundaries. And here's the part critics always miss. Rational self-interest includes relationships, love, generosity, but only when they're chosen, not obligated. You help people you care about because it brings you joy, not because you owe them or because society says you're selfish if you don't. Ayn Rand wasn't against kindness. She was against self-sacrifice, the idea that you should destroy your own happiness to serve others. That's Pillar 3, rational self-interest. Pillar 4, capitalism is the only moral system. Because it's the only system based on voluntary exchange. No one can force you to trade. You offer value, others offer value, and you both benefit. Win-win. Rand defended capitalism, not because money is everything, but because it's the only system where people deal with each other as traders, not as masters and slaves. You don't owe anyone your work. They don't owe you their money. You earn what you achieve, and you keep it. That's Pillar 4, laissez-faire capitalism. Now let's be clear about what objectivism is not. It's not do whatever you want. Rational self-interest means acting in your actual long-term interest, not your whims. Getting drunk every night isn't self-interest. Cheating people isn't self-interest. Those things destroy your life. It's not step on people to get ahead. Ayn Rand was against force, fraud, and coercion. You succeed by creating value, not by hurting others. And it's not don't care about anyone. Rand had deep friendships, a long marriage, and wrote extensively about love and admiration. She just refused to pretend that sacrifice is love. Objectivism is about living rationally, with purpose, in alignment with reality. Now, see how this plays out in real life. Let's take objectivism out of theory and into your actual life. 3 situations. 3 applications. Application 1. Relationships. Meet Lisa. She's been dating Marcus for 2 years. And she's miserable. Marcus doesn't work. He borrows money from her constantly. He criticizes her career, calls her obsessed with success, and guilt trips her whenever she prioritizes her goals over his comfort. But Lisa feels conflicted, because she's been taught that love means sacrifice, that if she truly cares about Marcus, she should support him unconditionally. That leaving would make her selfish. Here's what objectivism says. Love is not sacrifice. Love is admiration. It's valuing someone because of their character, their virtues, their contribution to your life. Real love makes you better, not smaller. It's a trait of value. You give your best, they give theirs, and you both grow. What Marcus is offering isn't love. It's exploitation dressed up as need. Ayn Rand would say, you don't owe him your life. You're not responsible for fixing him, funding him, or shrinking yourself to make him comfortable. Rational self-interest means asking, does this relationship serve my life? Does it make me happier, stronger, more fulfilled? If the answer is no, you leave. Not because you're cruel, because you refuse to treat your own life as worthless. Lisa applying objectivism looks like this. She sits Marcus down, explains that she won't continue funding his lifestyle, and that she needs a partner who shares her values, ambition, independence, mutual respect. If he steps up, great. If he guilt trips her again, she walks. That's not selfish. That's self-respect. And it's the foundation of any healthy relationship. Application 2. Family now. Let's talk about Daniel. He's 29, works in finance, and every Sunday his mother calls. Not to ask how he's doing, to complain. About his father, about her health, about how Daniel never visits enough. And when Daniel tries to set boundaries, she hits him with, after everything I've done for you, this is how you treat me? Daniel feels trapped. Because he's been taught that family is obligation, that he owes his parents endless time, attention, and emotional labor, no matter how it affects him. Here's what objectivism says. You don't owe anyone your life, not even your parents. Yes, you can be grateful if they raised you well. Yes, you can choose to spend time with them if the relationship is healthy. But gratitude is not the same as debt. You're not a servant. You're not an emotional support animal. Ayn Rand would say, family relationships should be earned. Just like any other relationship. If your mother treats you with respect, values your time, and adds to your life, great. Spend time with her. But if she manipulates you with guilt, drains you emotionally, and punishes you for having boundaries, you're allowed to limit contact. Daniel applying objectivism looks like this. He tells his mother, I can visit once a month. I'm happy to catch up, but I won't be your therapist. If you continue to guilt trip me, I'll need more space. Will she react badly? Probably. Will she accuse him of being selfish? Definitely. But here's the truth. People who actually love you will respect your boundaries. People who manipulate you will call boundaries selfish. That's how you know who deserves your time. Application 3. Work. Finally, let's talk about Rachel. She's a software engineer at a mid-sized company. She's good at her job, really good. She solves problems faster than her coworkers, takes on complex projects, and consistently delivers. But here's the issue. Her manager keeps assigning her extra work. Not because it's part of her role, but because you're so reliable. Her coworkers have started dumping their tasks on her too, knowing she won't say no. And when Rachel asked for a raise, her manager said, "We're a team here." It's not about individual achievement. Rachel is burning out, and she's starting to resent her job. Here's what objectivism says. You are not a sacrifice to the collective. Your skills, your effort, your results, they belong to you. You trade them for compensation. That's it. You don't owe your company free labor. You don't owe your coworkers your competence just because they lack it. Ayn Rand would say, the producer is not a servant. If you're doing more work than you're paid for, and your company refuses to recognize your value, you have two options: negotiate or leave. Rachel applying objectivism looks like this. She documents her contributions, schedules a meeting with her manager, and says, I've taken on X, Y, and Z beyond my job description. I need either a raise that reflects this or a reduction in extra assignments. If they say no, Rachel starts looking for a company that will pay for her value. Because staying in a place that exploits you isn't loyalty, it's self-betrayal. And here's the thing. When Rachel stops overfunctioning, one of two things happens. Either her company realizes her worth and adjusts, or they lose her to a competitor who will. Either way, she wins. That's rational self-interest in action. Not stepping on people, not being greedy, just refusing to be used. These three examples, relationships, family, work, show the same principle. You are not a tool for others' goals. You have a right to your own life. And living by that standard isn't selfish, it's sane. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. Because these are the two objections I hear every single time someone learns about objectivism. Let's address them directly. Objection 1. But if everyone was selfish, society would collapse. People would just hurt each other. This objection comes from a fundamental misunderstanding of what Ayn Rand meant by selfishness. When most people hear selfish, they think of a guy who steals, lies, cheats, and manipulates to get what he wants. That's not rational self-interest. That's irrational self-destruction. Here's why. If you lie, people stop trusting you. If you cheat, you lose relationships and opportunities. If you steal, you risk jail, reputation damage, and retaliation. None of that serves your actual long-term self-interest. Ayn Rand's whole point was that rationality and self-interest align. Living in a peaceful, productive society serves your interest. Trading value for value serves your interest. Building a good reputation serves your interest. In fact, it's the altruists, the people who demand self-sacrifice, who create chaos. Because when you teach people that they owe their lives to others, you get guilt, manipulation, and force. You get people who feel entitled to your money, your time, your work because you're selfish if you don't give. A society where everyone pursues. Rational self-interest is a society where people trade voluntarily, respect boundaries, and cooperate because it benefits both sides. That's not collapse. That's civilization. Rand said it best. The trader principle. You don't sacrifice yourself for others, and you don't ask others to sacrifice for you. You offer value, they offer value, everyone wins. So no rational selfishness wouldn't destroy society. It's the foundation of every functional society that's ever existed. Objection 2. What about the poor? The sick? The vulnerable? Doesn't objectivism just ignore them? This is the big one. And it's based on a false premise that if you're not forced to help people, you won't. Here's what Ayn Rand actually said. She was against forced charity. She was against the government taking your money at gunpoint and redistributing it. She was against the moral idea that you owe your life to strangers just because they need help. But she was not against voluntary generosity. If you want to help someone because you care about them, because their struggle moves you, because it aligns with your values, go ahead. That's your choice. And it's beautiful because it's a choice. What Rand opposed was guilt-based obligation. The idea that you're a bad person if you don't give. The idea that need is a claim on your life. Because here's the problem with that worldview: it turns help into sacrifice. It turns relationships into transactions of guilt. It makes the person helping feel resentful and the person receiving feel entitled. Real compassion comes from choice, not coercion. And here's what critics miss. Objectivism doesn't say ignore suffering. It says, you're not responsible for all suffering. You didn't cause someone's poverty. You're not morally obligated to fix every problem in the world. You can help where it matters to you. You can support causes you believe in. You can be generous to people you love. But you do it because you choose it, not because someone guilted you into it. Ayn Rand had friends she supported financially during hard times. She donated to causes she believed in. But she did it on her terms, not because society told her she had to. That's the difference. Voluntary kindness versus forced sacrifice. So to answer the objection, objectivism doesn't ignore the vulnerable. It just refuses to make you a slave to everyone else's needs. These two objections, selfishness would destroy society. And what about the poor? Both rest on the same error. Confusing rational self-interest with irrational destruction, and confusing voluntary generosity with forced servitude. Once you understand the difference, the objections fall apart. So what does it actually look like when someone adopts objectivism? Let me show you a transformation. Before, meet Jennifer. She's 38, a graphic designer, divorced, 1 kid. And she's living in what I call guilt mode. Her ex-husband calls her constantly not about their daughter, but about his problems. He needs money. He needs advice. He needs emotional support. And Jennifer gives it because she still feels somehow responsible for his life. Her sister asks her to babysit every weekend. Her father makes passive-aggressive comments about how she works too much and doesn't visit enough. Her boss assigns her projects with impossible deadlines, then acts hurt when she pushes back. And here's the worst part. Jennifer believes this is what being a good person looks like. She thinks setting boundaries would make her selfish. She thinks saying no would make her cruel. She thinks her exhaustion is just the price of being moral, so she keeps giving and giving and giving. Until one day, she's sitting in her car after work, and she realizes she can't remember the last time she did something for herself. The last time she felt happy. She's not living. She's just serving after. Then Jennifer discovers objectivism. And everything changes. She reads Atlas Shrugged. She understands, for the first time, that her life belongs to her. That she's not a support system for everyone else's dysfunction. That rational self-interest isn't evil, it's survival. So she starts making changes. First, she tells her ex-husband, I'll co-parent our daughter. But I'm not your therapist, your bank, or your backup plan. If you need help, call a friend. He's furious. He calls her selfish. She doesn't care. Because she realizes his opinion of her is not her responsibility. Second, she tells her sister, I can babysit once a month. If you need more help, hire a sitter. Her sister guilt trips her. I thought family helped each other. Jennifer responds, family respects each other's time. I'm happy to help when I can, but not at the expense of my own life. Third, she tells her boss, I can't take on more projects without extending deadlines or dropping something else. If everything is urgent, then nothing is. Her boss is shocked. But here's what happens. He starts respecting her time, because Jennifer stopped overfunctioning. And finally, she starts doing things for herself. She joins a hiking group. She takes a weekend trip. She sets aside 2 hours every Saturday morning just to read, think, and be alone. At first, she feels guilty, because years of conditioning don't disappear overnight. But then she notices something. She's happier. She has more energy. She's more patient with her daughter. She's more creative at work. She's building a life she actually enjoys instead of resenting everyone in it. And here's the kicker. The people who actually value her daughter, her close friends, her competent coworkers, they don't think she's selfish. They think she's stronger. They respect her more. It's only the manipulators who call her selfish. And Jennifer realizes That's exactly how you identify who deserves your time and who doesn't. The shift. What changed for Jennifer? She stopped believing the lie that self-sacrifice is virtue. She started living by a new standard. Does this serve my rational self-interest? Does this make my life better or worse? And when the answer was worse, she said no. Without guilt, without apology. That's the transformation Objectivism offers. Not a life of cruelty or isolation. A life of purpose, boundaries, and self-respect. You stop being a victim. You stop being a servant. You start being the protagonist of your own life. And that's what Ayn Rand wanted for you. Not to hurt people, not to ignore the world, but to live fully, rationally, unapologetically. So let's recap. Objectivism is built on 4 pillars. Reality is objective. Reason is your guide. Rational self-interest is moral. Capitalism is the only ethical system. It's not about being cruel. It's about refusing to sacrifice your life for guilt, manipulation, or duty. It's about understanding that you matter and that living for your own happiness, rationally and purposefully, is not just acceptable, it's right. You saw how it applies to relationships, refusing to stay with someone who drains you. To family setting boundaries even when they call you selfish. To work demanding compensation for the value you create. And you saw the transformation it creates. From exhausted servant to self-respecting individual. From guilt-driven to purpose-driven. From victim to protagonist. That's Objectivism. That's Ayn Rand's philosophy. And if it resonates with you, I want you to try something. Here's your challenge. This week, identify one area where you're sacrificing yourself out of guilt. Maybe it's a relationship that drains you. Maybe it's a family obligation you resent. Maybe it's work you're doing for free because you're nice. And ask yourself, does this serve my rational self-interest? Does this make my life better or worse? If the answer is worse, set a boundary. Say no. Not with cruelty. Not with drama. Just with clarity. And watch what happens. Some people will respect it. Some will call you selfish. And that's how you'll know who actually values you and who is just using you. Try it. See how it feels to live for yourself instead of against yourself. If this video helped you see Ayn Rand's philosophy clearly for the first time, hit that like button. Drop a comment telling me which part hit hardest for you, relationships, family, work, or the transformation story. And if you want more videos breaking down life through the Rand lens, rational thinking, boundaries, self-respect, subscribe to this channel because I'm just getting started. Thanks for watching. Now go live like your life belongs to you. Because it does.